What is the actual truth about Age of Overlord? It is the new 100 card booster set that actually brings support for some underserved strategies as well as introduces a new one. But is this set actually worth picking up? Is it even worth your time? Well, in this video, I will be revealing the truth about the very best cards inside of this set. If you stick throughout the video, you'll also even learn about some cards that players don't want you to know about. Personally, I think it's time that we have an unfiltered opinion that is not dictated by the payroll Konami, and in this video, you'll find out the very truth about this Yu-Gi-Oh set. By the time we get to October 20th, Age of Overlord will be worldwide to everyone, and it'll give support to strategies like Supreme King Gate Magician, Supreme King Dragon, Visas, Watt, Odonic, Earthbound, Vanquish Soul, Movewell, Holes, Alien, Nermalia, Recipe, Vanadium, TG, Odd Eyes, Phantom Beast. This is a lot. The fact that I only got halfway through that list can be really illustrative to how much is packed inside of this set, and we have to reveal the truth about a lot of these strategies because some of them just aren't it. But I also think that it's really important to keep in mind why people will buy a Yu-Gi-Oh set. So I have 4 different categories which I think Age of Overlord should be scored on. The competitive category, judging on how popular these cards will be in the competitive circuit. The casual category, which will be judging on how nostalgic the cards could be. The collector's category, which means how good will this set be over a long duration of time. And of course, investments, some cards that you really should be looking to pick up, whether it's for any of the other categories that I mentioned before. I think when it comes to looking into the competitive category for Age of Overlord, it looks really promising, but only if you already have a previously existing powerful deck. Some of the best cards in the competitive category are the Horus cards. Now, the Horus cards basically revolve around one spell card right now called King Sarcophagus, and King Sarcophagus gives these Horus monsters extra bonus effects, but also allows you to discard a card from your hand to send a Horus monster from your deck to the graveyard. And the cool thing about this is that the Horus monsters can summon themselves from the graveyard to the side of the field as long as you control that King Sarcophagus. Now in this Age of Overlord booster set, there are 4 different Horus monsters in total that you can use, but only 2 of them are genuinely good. Imseti Glorious of Horus allows you to search King Sarcophagus, so it's the most important, and Happy Guidance of Horus allows you to be able to manipulate either player's Banish Zone or Graveyard. The other 2 monsters have their purpose, but the best thing about the Horus strategy is that the monsters are level 8, meaning that you can make some quick rank 8 plays. This means making monsters like Hope Harbinger can be pretty easy, but the best thing about this deck is making monsters like the Zombie Vampire, and that's really good in decks like Phantom Knights and Tearlament. The innate problem with Horus is that you already have to have a Phantom Knights or a Tearlament deck, and that'll be the exact same thing about the Diablo Star Evil Eye strategy. Diablo Star for competitive players pretty much starts and ends with Diablo Star the Dark Witch. It can summon itself by sending a card you have to the graveyard, but also sets a Tainted Treasure to your field. With that, you can set your original Tainted Treasure Snake Eye from your deck to your side of the field, which can send Diablo Star from the field to the graveyard to be able to special summon any level 1 fire monster from your deck. Traditionally, if you want to stay on theme, you can summon Snake Eye Ash, which can search any level 1 fire monster from your deck to your hand, including powerful cards like Divine Incarnate Kirakera, which is getting an ultimate rare reprint, but that's not what this is really good for, is it? The main competitive use for these particular cards is to freely special summon monsters like Rescue Ace Hydrant to your side of the field, but can also be used to summon other level 1 fire monsters like Infernal monsters to be able to continue on with your combo. Personally, I think that it's a little whack that the new competitive cards from Age of Overlord pretty much only make other decks stronger while not necessarily being able to prop up themselves. Fortunately enough, this is the only thing that Age of Overlord has to offer when it comes to competitive viability. It actually gave support to Vanadium, Vanquish Soul, and of course, your favorite strategy, Pendulums, because everybody loves Pendulums. Oh, and don't forget about Labyrinth. You forgot about Labyrinth already, didn't you guys? So at the time of making this video, I don't have access to the exclusives or the imports that are coming inside of Age of Overlord, but I'll be sure to update you guys as soon as possible on Twitch and on my TheCaliEffect YouTube channel. But for right now, Labyrinth gets one card that makes the deck a lot more consistent. Arius the Labyrinth Butler allows you to be able to special summon a Labyrinth monster or set a normal trap card, and then you can activate it the turn that you set it. This pretty much helps Labyrinth on their diabolical plans to turn every trap card in the game into virtually a spell card, as now Eradicator Epidemic Virus can be activated on the very first turn. I think that the hype around Arius can be somewhat justified, because as long as Konami decides to keep these toxic Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game, decks like Labyrinth will be able to find a way to use them, so therefore this card will be pretty good and makes Labyrinth a lot stronger. Manadium is a strategy that gets way better with 2 new cards in Visas Samsara and Manadium Trusukta, but to be honest with you, on paper this deck already looks ridiculously overpowered. It just seems to fall flat in the competitive circuit every single time.
But this time it's different! Manadium is the best deck!
I'll believe that when R. Kelly actually does get acquitted for his charges. Vanquish Soul looks really promising with cards like Vanquish Soul Jailong and Vanquish Soul Devil's Snow. Jailong helps put an emphasis on powerful fire monsters while also giving you another fire monster that can be played inside of the deck. And Snow actually gives you a powerful trap card that can be searched with Vanquish Soul Madlove. And Pendulums get a new Link 3 monster in Exceed the Pendulum. This card not only allows you to add a Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, it also allows you to Pendulum summon a monster to your side of the field once per turn during either player's turn. I think all 4 of these strategies actually did get a lot better. The only problem that I have with the competitive side of Age of Overlord is that you've already had to have invested into these particular strategies beforehand to be able to take a full advantage of the set. If I were to give a competitive grade based off of those archetypes that players are seeing as the most powerful, I would actually give this a 4 out of 10. And the main reason is because this set absolutely does nothing to bring newer competitive players into the game. It only rewards players that have already been playing competitively. But to help counterbalance that rating, there's actually 2 new cards that are fairly generic that anybody can play, no matter what deck you're picking up. Now, if I were just going to give the competitive grade based solely off the boss monsters, this would easily be a 9 out of 10, no doubt. SP Little Knight is hands down the best card in the entire set. It only requires 2 effect monsters to be link summoned, and if you summoned it using any extra deck monster as material, you can target any card on the field or in the graveyard and banish it. Also, if your opponent decides to use any card while it's on the field, you can banish a monster on your side of the field and your opponent's until the end of the turn. This card is incredibly good to use on your turn. For example, if you take one of your opponent's extra deck monsters, you can then get rid of another, but it's also incredibly good to be able to link summon using IP Masquerena, because you can dodge its effect that you won't be able to attack for that turn because you're not attacking on your opponent's turn, goofy. In Stellar Nemesis, Tifon Doomsday Star will be the most sought after cards in the entire set. Now, Stellar Nemesis has a crazy name, so I'm just going to call it a fake Zeus. And ironically, it is the answer to Zeus. It requires 2 level 12 monsters, but you can use any 1 monster you control if your opponent special summon 2 monsters from the extra deck on their turn. And then from there, it prevents players from using monster effects with the attack of 3,000 or more. Think of cards like Better on the Floor and Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. It also has the effect to detach 1 material to return 1 monster on the field to the hand. This card can actually be really powerful for allowing you to re-establish the game state. This card is Konami's attempt to be able to reverse some of the more broken cards that they've made previously before. Overall, these 2 cards will be carrying the set if you plan on playing competitively. These are must-needs and must-have Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I would give them individually an 8 out of 10, bringing the overall competitive of the set a 6 out of 10. These are going to be some cards that you need for some time to come, and I think it does a good job at balancing some of the other competitive cards that we previously talked about. Overall, I gotta give it maybe a 6.5 out of 10, 7 if we're being generous. The competitiveness for this set is pretty top heavy unless you're building multiple decks. The nostalgia or casual factor, I think the best way to figure out if you like this set. Do you like C-list musicians? Me personally, as a rap head, if somebody like Tyga headlined the show, I probably wouldn't look any further, as if I were to see somebody like Kendrick Lamar or 21 Savage. That's exactly what Age of Overlord feels like. Age of Overlord includes cards used by Axel Brody, Reginald Castle, and Sergei Volkov. Who? And I'm not here to knock my boy Axel Brody. He a straight G, but the other 2? The casual and nostalgia strategies are pretty much everywhere. I think Watt, Odotic, and Shinobert were completely random. I mean, this is a pendulum-based set called Age of Overlord, and none of them have anything to do with that. There's also Alien, Nermelia, and Gaia Knight. These strategies get pushed a little bit forward with this set, but nothing really remarkable here. At the cream of the crop, there's Shark, Dino, and TG, and these particular strategies look a lot more fun. 2 of them are already fairly cohesive and get some pretty cool support, but the main one I want to talk about is TG. TG pretty much does a 180 from when it first made its debut so long ago. It is a deck built on Excel Synchro Summoning, something that the deck did not do in its original debut. The TG cards overall provide a little bit of nostalgia, especially if you were playing around in 2011 when TG was fairly popular. This is a whole new take on the deck that is revamped into modern times. If you're really big into Arc 5, Odd Ice Air Crate Dragon, which is the cover card of Age of Overlord, is actually really crazy, but the only problem is that's pretty much where it stops when it comes in terms of Odd Eye support. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's actually a ton of Supreme King support, and the Supreme King cards are pretty good, but if you're looking for Odd Eye specific support, it's not there. And I think that's where Konami genuinely dropped the ball with this particular set when it comes to the casual nostalgia fan base. I don't even think Konami genuinely tried in this particular area. They could have made more support or bought a better cast, but they failed to do either of them. This is a 3 out of 10. From a collector's perspective, Konami has actually enacted something special for the 25th anniversary. For the last 4 booster sets, Konami is actually giving out quarter century secret rares as opposed to Starlight rares at a higher ratio in booster sets. This means that Duelist Nexus, Age of Overlord, the set that we're currently in, Phantom Nightmare, and the set afterward will all have quarter century collector's rares, but they will only be in those 4 Yu-Gi-Oh booster sets. On top of that, if you just so happen to come across a case of Age of Overlord for the price you'd like, I've seen players open between 2 to 6 quarter century secret rares per case as opposed to the 1 or 2 Starlight rares. Keep in mind, every single card in Age of Overlord that is ultra rare and up also comes in quarter century secret rare. This means that you can blink out some of the most sought after cards from this set, and they'll hold their value as compared to their other counterparts. There's also the exclusive Magician's Bond and Unity that will be coming out in this Age of Overlord set. This one's going to be a different color from the Duelist Nexus, as well as the other sets to precede this particular one, and it's going to be a one of a kind. Once Age of Overlord stops selling, you will not be able to get this card again unless you buy it from somebody else. I actually love that Konami has done this to booster sets. If you buy a case, you're guaranteed to get some quarter century rares, and if you buy a booster box, your odds are significantly higher than pulling a Starlight rare. Giving this a grade is pretty easy. It is an 8 out of 10, and I really wish after the 25th anniversary, Konami could continue this with Starlights. And lastly, from an investor's perspective, there's actually quite a few cards that you could be looking to invest into. I talked about the Diablo Star Snake Eye cards in the beginning of this video, and I think that it's really important to re-emphasize that this is our first real wave of support for those particular cards. They're more than likely going to get more support in Phantom Nightmare and other sets to come. The Horus cards are also guaranteed to get support in Phantom Nightmare. We're actually starting a new Yu-Gi-Oh cycle where Konami wants to introduce newer archetypes. And also because Fake Zeus and SP Knight won't get any reprints anytime soon and are seen as cards that will be viable for some time to come, this will be easy to pick up for the investment, especially if the prices start to die down once cards come into circulation and then start to move them when the demand gets high again. I would say that the investments for this set have a high pay-in but a guaranteed reward, especially if you get these cards for their lowest point. It's almost guaranteed that you're going to be able to make your return on investment with these particular cards. I'm pretty sure there are also a couple of other cards that are waiting to be discovered, and once I find out about those cards, I'll be sure to let you know. For right now, I'm going to go give it a solid 7 out of 10, just because it's almost guaranteed that these cards will make the return on investment. So the genuine truth about Age of Overlord. It's a set that has competitive promise if you've already invested into the decks that it's supporting. The 2 new boss monsters are incredibly solid. I do think that Fake Zeus is a little bit more fair than what people will give it credit, and SP Knight is a staple. It's just hands down a really good card. There's no denying that. I think the casual perspective misses the mark for the broad majority of Yu-Gi-Oh players, but it does actually touch up on some of those niches like Watts and Ododic, which I think are pretty cool, as well as TG. The set is easily one of the best sets when it comes to collectors because of the finite supply of quarter centuries. I know that it seems like a lot right now, but a couple of years from now, they'll be very, very short. And the investments right now, I would easily say is low risk, but the payoff won't be as high as a high risk. Overall, the truth of Age of Overlord is that it is not a godsend Yu-Gi-Oh set that some people are hyping up to be, but it's also not dog water. It's a solid middling of the pack set, and if I had to give it an overall grade, 6 out of 10. It's not bad. Maybe 6.5 out of 10, but I want you to let me know what you think.